Hello everybody and welcome to the hole guide for hole number 3, a par 5 of the Wiseacre Ranch here for Golf Clash the game. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Make sure that you hit that like button, turn on the notifications and subscribe to the channel. You can also get the ultimate tournament guide for pro, expert and master by going to patreon.com/golfclashtommy, link directly in the description down below. So for hole number 3, I will give you two ways of attacking this hole. One, which is my opponent that played a very interesting route, and I then chose to take the replays and talk over it here. First, you go with the driver that gives you the most power and topspin possible. He uses the Thor's Hammer level 5. He's not making an adjustment, but I would strongly advise you to stretch out your club to max, to have the ball guideline point towards the final piece of fairway. Visualize it, because you're not going to have the ball guideline in the length of showing into the next fairway. Adjust max plus 20, push up to max, then max overpower and half a ball of curl, and then you're going to be fine. Second shot is going to be then with a long iron towards the green. With our opponent's play here, he does play with the Grizzly, and I do agree that the Grizzly is a beautiful long iron here, but now when we have to play so close to the rough and the sand trap line, I would strongly advise you to play with a club called the Saturn instead. Even if you do have the Saturn in a lower level, you will be able to use more backspin, which means that you don't have to aim as close to the rough line there. I judge the elevation to be 10%, and then obviously it's going to be true club distance. So it's very important that you move your club up to max, then you move the club back to minimum distance to then make an educated guess on what club range you are in. A Titan ball is also preferred, mainly for the drive, as if we don't have a power 3 ball, we may not reach over the rough with the second bounce. So again, this is a more aggressive option where we can get into long iron range, which is way better than having to lay up and play with a wood club. However though, if we do have headwind or a straight crosswind, there will be chance that we might not reach as we want to. So therefore we do have a layup option to you as well that I'm going to explain in detail right now. So for the thing that I would like to call the layup option is that we're gonna use the fairway to the right. First, I do look into, should I blast it, should I not? And I decide not to, because again, if we don't have the wind for it, we will not be able to blast it, as I already explained in watching the previous videos here for hole number 3. So we're gonna focus on being on the right hand side here. Now, add topspin, I would prefer to use 4.5 bars. If we do have tailwind, crosswind, I would prefer to use more if possible. And then obviously in headwind, I would also be prefer to use more there as well. Adjust max plus 20, push up to max. Make sure that you get all the distance that you need. In headwind, I would recommend to use overpower, even though overpower could be scary and risky, especially if you do hit a bad great ball. But the overpower will help you get down to around 380 plus yards, which what I would say is where we want to be. Now, for the second shot, we're going to play either just a safe way of getting the eagle, which means that we would use all the backspin we can and just bounce it on the fairway, or just use our long iron to bounce over the rough and sand up towards the green. But for those of you that do want to have the best chance for an albatross from distance here, are going to have to play the rough bump. And the rough bump here is a really good opportunity where if you adjust correctly, you will not miss the rough. But again, that's the risk that you're taking by doing an aggressive route. So that's why I explained to you that you can play it ultra safe and make sure that you're always going to get yourself the eagle. But if you do want to have an albatross chance that is a good chance, then you go for the rough bump, ball guideline to hole, adjust with a minus 5% elevation, and then hit perfect. What I make as a mistake here is that I use no elevation for this shot. So as we're playing the rough bump, we do need the negative elevation here, because playing and bouncing into rough will remove any type of extra effect by the wind after the first bounce. That's very important to have in mind. So let's say that we go back to how our opponent played on the second shot, he played with 10% elevation. Alright, then we think, why do I then suggest for the rough bump minus 5%? That's because when we do a bounce up shot towards the pin, we have 1, 2, even 3 bounces sometimes. Every time the ball leaves the ground, the ball is then going to be affected by the wind. And therefore there will be then a different elevation for a bounce up shot, like we saw in the first example, compared to a rough bump where the elevation will then be less, as the wind will not have the same effect on shots like that. But again, we have 2 options for you here. You decide which way you want to go. Unfortunately, you can't really decide if you do have a headwind or a bad crosswind. Then you're going to have to lay up on the right side and just be okay with the fact that you cannot reach to the spot that we want to when it comes to left hand side and aggressive route. So, hole number 3 here for you. Thank you so much for watching and good luck in your Golf Clash game.